Money, 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 money floating all around Turner right now as Charles Barkley has agreed to a new 10-year deal with TNT that is expected to be well into the nine figures. I'm hearing it could be close to $200 million. So Barkley's got 3 years left on his current deal that pays him nearly $10 million a year. So if it is around $200 million for his total new contract, that would probably mean around a $10 million raise for Barkley, bringing him up to about $20 million a season. His current contract coincides with TNT's agreement with the NBA deal expiring after the 24-25 season. If Turner were not to keep the NBA, Barkley could potentially own his rights to go work for another platform if Amazon or Apple or others are getting involved with the NBA, which is a report out in the atmosphere that might happen down the pipeline. We shall see. For Barkley, he had this to say on his new deal: "We are all a big family. Earnie, Kenny, and Shaquille are brothers to me, and I wouldn't still be here if it wasn't for them and all the amazing people here on our show. I'm not going to lie, though, this is a life-altering deal, and I'm blessed to be able to do live television for a living." Barkley went on to tell Dan Patrick this: "TNT asked me, like, we need something from you. Would you give us something?" And I said, "What do you want?" They are like, "We need you to stay longer. We can't lose you and bid on the NBA." They asked me if I was signed for a couple more years, and I said, "You guys have been great to me. I'll stay a couple more years. There's probably zero chance that I'm going to stay for the entire 10 years, though." So as Charles Barkley's new deal is announced, the parent company for TNT, Warner Brothers Discovery, also announced that Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith, and Shaquille O'Neal have all signed new contracts to help and continue their NBA studio coverage once a week, and then obviously multiple times a week during the playoffs. Details of their deals were not indulged, but apparently we will see this crew as a collective, the four gentlemen, together for years to come. So the biggest elephant in the room, which is why we separated Charles Barkley from everyone else, is getting Barkley signed. Barkley had been teasing that he had no plans of going past 60 in this space, in this capacity. He said he didn't want to get old on television. He said that in the past. He's 59 now. He'll be 60 in February. So obviously it looks like the plans have changed. He told Dan Patrick that the reason why is Turner didn't want to go into negotiations with the NBA without having that Inside the NBA show. And look, ever so often you get one of these generational talents. Look, when I go watch Inside the NBA, which I do weekly, by the way, I'm not watching it because Charles Barkley is breaking the game down to me in levels I've never seen. No, there are a ton of different analysts, a lot of them that I used to work with at ESPN, that do a better job of breaking the game down detail for detail. Tim Legler is one of them. That's not about that. It's about being a polarizing personality. And Charles Barkley's got the it factor. Somebody else could say the same thing that Charles Barkley says, but because Barkley says it, it's going to ring more. I'll give you a good example. My mama-in-law, she's not going to watch if Tim Legler says something on ESPN that 100% breaks down Luka Doncic's game. But if Charles Barkley says something about Kevin Durant, it's going to get back to her, and she might send it to me because he's one of the most popular people in the NBA space. Matter of fact, not named guys like LeBron James, Steph Curry. Maybe right after that, many would argue that Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley are just as popular NBA figures today as pretty much 98% of guys currently playing. And they haven't played in quite some time. So getting Chuck signed was the biggest domino because I do believe if he's not around, I don't know if Shaquille O'Neal's going to want to do that. He's many times told you that Charles Barkley, though he gets on his nerves, is the big brother. And Shaq's no fool. He know what makes that show churn. He knows it's Chuck. He's polarizing. Ever so often you get one of these legendary figures that just, if they're on your television screen, you will not change it. Whether you agree or disagree, you respect. And that is why Charles Barkley maybe just got paid $20 million a season. Again, that's interesting to hear TNT say they're about to go into negotiations with the NBA soon in the next few years, and they wanted to make sure they had that Inside the NBA crew locked up. It's not interesting that they wanted to have the crew locked up. What I'm trying to get to is clearly they believe that there are some people out there that could potentially steal the NBA. I am watching closely because, for those who don't know, I used to work as a production assistant at ESPN, and I decided to do my own thing. And I've just grown my platform. I know what I knew then at ESPN while I was heading out the door that this money in this creative space wasn't going anywhere. Now, I didn't know it would get this crazy this soon, but the creative space is not going anywhere. In my 30s, I'm 28 now. I expect around 32, 33. I'm in for a big payday if I continue to just grind and grow my platforms. This space is only getting bigger. I am watching closely what's happening with Amazon Prime. I'm watching those Thursday night games with the NFL right now and seeing how they're doing. And the reason why I'm watching is because, okay, now the game's changing. Amazon into the content space of sports. I don't know if the last time you paid attention to what's doing ratings on television right now. For the most part, it's live sports, UFC and wrestling, WWE, like that, and the other one, AEW. Those are the things that's doing big ratings. There are a couple reality television shows that do pretty good ratings as well. But outside of that, not a lot of just things on TV do big ratings nowadays. A lot of people watch a lot of shows on demand. When you look at also the pay-per-view apps, the Stars of the world, the Showtimes of the world, the Netflix of the world, the Hulus of the world, there's so many different ways to get your content. The only thing you do not want to be behind on, the only thing that you don't want to watch on demand, the only thing that you don't want to binge watch for a few different reasons is sports, right? If you miss something live, you're going to have to find out about it on Twitter. If you're betting on games, you know, your money's on the line, you want to watch it live. So live sports are the key, and I'm listening to TNT say they're getting into this space to make sure they have their ducks in a row, or they're watching who gets into the space from an Apple or Amazon, which could be interesting, and then obviously Charles would have his rights. If Charles is not there, I expect the crew to maybe try to keep it together. The unfortunate thing is, I don't care if LeBron retires tomorrow. I don't care if Michael Jordan said he wanted to work at Turner tomorrow. There's just no replacing Charles Barkley right now. The only guy I think that has the potential of doing it down the line, maybe, and this is a huge maybe, Draymond Green's got a few of the things that I believe that could work. I just don't know if him not being the player that Barkley was might hurt him despite all the winning that Draymond's had. I'm happy to have the NBA crew back for a few more years. Look, I don't know if Barkley was really going to retire after this year or not. I don't know if he was going to retire once his contract ended in 24, 25. I don't know. He could have been bluffing. It could have been a negotiation tactic. We obviously know he negotiated with Liv this summer. He probably just making sure, you know, he's doing his best job as a brand. I don't know if he was really going to leave. I don't know if he plans on being with Turner for 10 more years. I don't know. But as a viewer, I'm happy to know that when I watch my basketball, even if I'm catching a bad game in the middle of November on a Thursday night, if stars are not playing, I'll tune in to see what Inside the NBA is doing. That production that they put together in studio week to week, some of those producers that they've got over there, I mean, they do an immaculate job making me feel good about the hours that I'm spending watching basketball, even when the product's not great, even before the playoffs. So I'm happy that this crew will remain together seemingly for years to come. Kenny Smith at one point in time was floating his name out there for GM and coaching positions. It feels like that phase in life is past him. Shaquille O'Neal, I mean, this brother's got like over 75 businesses. He doesn't have to do this. He does it because he loves it. He wants to remain relevant in today's NBA product space. And Earnie Johnson is just the best at what he does. I'm happy to see everybody back together. It all starts on the train of none other than, no pun intended in this one, but the bus driver in the content space of sports television, none other than Charles Barkley. He signed a new 10-year deal that's reportedly worth nearly $200 million.